Hey everyone, I'm so excited to do this video. These are the new Derwent watercolor paint pen sets. I'm not only excited because it's Derwent's first watercolor that they have designed, but also the fact that my illustration went on the packaging. So here it is. We've got a 12 set and a 24 color set. The 12 colors are repeated in the 24. So if you wanted a smaller palette to have on the go, then the 12 set will be just fine. If you wanted to have more colors, slightly larger but still within the pocket range palette, then the 24 will have more colors. So what I'm doing here is I thought I'll show you the colors that are in these two palettes, and I've got them here. I had somewhere a used palette, I can't quite find it, and then I've got another one. In fact, I've got a number of these palettes and they have been all scattered throughout my studio. I had some taken on photo shoots and I just don't know where is what. So I will use this palette here because it has all of the colors. And what I've done so far is I thought I'll do a pretty swatch today, swatch set, where I first went ahead and stamped the center of the flowers. And this is the little element from my botanical stamping set. It's right here. You can of course create botanical clusters and floral little designs for your journals or sketchbooks, or what I'm gonna do here is I also like to use them as little swatch areas. Basically, once I've done that, I also picked out one of the petals. You have got 4 of these different sized petals, and I tend to do peonies with these ones, but you can do loads of other like hibiscus flowers, etc. What I have done is I stamped 3, and I'm going to have a very opaque swatch. I'm going to have one that's going to be middle range and then a wash of a color. I will also show you transparency by adding a leaf also from this set, and I'm just going to kind of doodle things around, and that's what we're going to do. So far I've got 2 lines of flowers. We have got 24 colors, so I have divided it into 4 by 6, and then I'm going to use a pale colored ink. This is Tattered Rose by Tim Holtz Distress Inks, and it's lasted me for years, this tiny little thing. It still keeps going strong. So what I'm doing is I'm slightly rotating the petals so I don't have the exact same orientation every time, so it will look a little bit more livelier, a little bit more spontaneous, and a little bit more fun. You're taking out some of the mundane element of swatching. Some people find swatching quite boring. I personally love swatching, but if you're one of those that prefer fun swatches, then I recommend you try something like this. And at the end of it, you'll have a beautiful big swatching card that you can, display somewhere in your studio for quick reference. Now I'm going to take the leaf from this stamp set, and I'm going to add a leaf to every flower and then draw a black line through it to see the transparency. Now with the finest pen that I own, I'm going to go around and just kind of create these sketchy lines. And then I'm going to also draw the line in the middle. I have got the 24 pen set here, the Derwent watercolor, which is new. I have written all of the names of the colors. We have got 24 flowers and leaves, and what I'm intending to do is do one very kind of like a saturated swatch, so with minimal water. Then we do a medium and a light wash. So I have got my favorite water compartment here, and this is the Meaden. I have a discount code for it down below, so please check it out. I have got a large dish here which I use as my mixing or swatching palette. We're going to use minimal water and maximum color. I'm going to use also my current favorite brush for swatching, and this is the round Princeton Neptune brush, round 4, but this set comes also with a portable brush that has a compartment for water. Okay, so we're going to start. You will notice how vibrant the colors are and how I'm gonna go clockwise. So I'll start with the darkest and then go middle range and wash. So yeah, you'll notice how vibrant the colors are and how smooth. So that's the key of these watercolors. I'm going to go into the clean water for the lightest wash, and we'll have mostly water there. I will also tell you what paper I'm using. So this is Derwent Lightfast paper, which is intended for pencils, but watercolor I find looks also very beautiful and goes on quite smoothly as well. It has a very light texture, so not a super smooth. It's deemed as a kind of smooth paper, but you know what I mean. It's not like flat. It has tiny little texture, which is what I really adore. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to go back and start with this leaf just at the top, like so, kind of 1/3, and you can see the transparency. Then I'm going to take a bit of water and create a gradient, and then just wash my brush out all together and just pull out what's left, or pull out the middle color. Okay, moving on, next color, deep cadmium. This brush is good for doing swatches because I find them uninterrupted. So for a size like this, you need enough moisture to have a lovely smooth swatch. If you would go for a smaller brush or a brush that doesn't hold as much water as this one does, then what would happen is you would go back and forth adding more water, etc., and therefore you'd create these blossoms, which is a lovely effect, but it's not a smooth watercolor finish. So keep that in mind, that your brush needs to have perfect amount or hold perfect amount of water for the size of the swatch that you're doing. Not much more, not much less. That's the key. And then the last one, we have got this lovely light wash. So about 1/3 of the leaf. Then I'm going to wash my brush out, go back in what we had here, move it slightly more out, and then now just completely wash the brush and pull the watercolor into here. There we go. First thing to notice, again, the beautiful color saturation and the smoothness of the watercolors. They all lay beautifully without any streaks, without unwanted textures. So next color is Mango. And Mango is a lovely orange. Then a bit more water, and again clockwise. Very light wash. Sometimes throughout the years of painting with watercolor, I noticed that there are colors that don't look great in a wash. So for example, in the saturated form of it, where there's minimal water, they look fantastic. Sometimes they look great at middle range, but there are colors that look absolutely awful in the wash. So Not every color obviously, but there are colors. I find that with the Derwent watercolor set, all the colors look lovely, still smooth. How would you determine a low grade watercolor? If you have very little pigment and a lot of water, that distribution sometimes doesn't go smoothly. So it could happen that you have clusters of these pigments allocating through the paper, and then you have the water sort of separating things. But here what we have is just smooth, smooth, smooth. Transparency in watercolor is not always a straightforward good or a bad thing. Now, what you do want to look out for sometimes, again depending on the colors, is that there are no whites added. And how do you know if a white pigment is added? It's going to create that milky kind of texture that would settle around this area, and you won't be able to see the black line through it very well. You want it to be sometimes more opaque, but the opaqueness not necessarily you want to be from the white pigment, if that makes sense. So here, so far I'm not detecting any white, and obviously I've worked with these watercolors for months now, and I haven't detected any of the kind of white opaqueness in them. So let's carry on. Next color we have is orange. Now this is a very saturated, beautiful orange. So this one is almost like a geranium red. So it's a beautiful saturated color. It's such a peaceful day today, perfect for swatching. Birds are singing, it's lovely and quiet outside. So in watercolor you often work with layers and glazing and all of that. So you want to start with lighter colors, and then gradually you want to build them up, and that's why it's so important to see watercolors in these 3 different levels of saturation. Also notice how sometimes when I just have done the wet saturated wash here, it looks more opaque than what it does when it dries. You'll see a difference in that as well. And sometimes it can be also opposite, so it can look more transparent than when it dries. So best thing to do, always let them dry first before you have a closer look. Next color we have is poppy red. I'm just going to carry on swatching them, and I'll probably just put some music to it because I think it's such a relaxing way of swatching, and you probably don't want to hear me talk for that long. We still have a lot of colors to go. So poppy red is next. Next color we have Mother Carmine. Okay, so we've got now magenta. apologies with the card getting full, so I'm not sure where we stopped, but I have done magenta and now I'm doing the leaf, about 1/3. Next color is dark violet. Notice also how some colors will be dark enough for you not to see the line, but it could be because of its color rather than opaqueness, if that makes sense. Next color we have is amethyst, and that one is a light, kind of light purple. So we're going to get a light, very light middle range, and then even lightest wash. Next color we have is ultramarine. It's a classic in every palette. Next one is spectrum blue. Kingfisher blue. So this is more of a turquoisey blue. On comparison, when ultramarine dries, it's the coolest one, and then you're going sort of towards the warm tones. Notice how beautifully the colors spread into smoothness once they're fully dry. Next color we have is jade green, also one of my favorite colors. As you know, I absolutely love these kind of turquoises, and this is a green turquoise. Beautiful. I am not sure why my recording has been stopped. This was jade green, and now we are on to bottle green. Bottle green is a beautiful mix between like a forest green and a sap green. But yeah, the name bottle green describes it really perfectly, in my opinion. Next one is emerald green. It's a very, very vibrant green. You can see that all of the colors so far are really vibrant. This one is a great color for mixing and adding zest to your foliage color. So I wouldn't use it straight out of the pan like this, just because it just wouldn't look natural. But for mixing, it's great to add that vibrancy and lift to your green foliage. Next one is grass green, so not a really saturated color, but it's close to a chartreuse, so I love this color personally. If you would add a little bit of the lemon cadmium into this, you'd get a straight up chartreuse. But even in its pure form, it's pretty much a chartreuse. Olive green is up next. So this one is olive green, just in case it wasn't recorded. And next one is raw sienna. This raw sienna is nice and juicy. It's got a nice color to it. Some raw siennas I have tried out can be a little bit flat. This one is nice and colorful. It's got loads of yellow in there. So if you like your raw siennas to be vibrant, this is definitely a good one. Raw siennas tend to be opaque by its nature, so let's have a look how this one behaves. Next one we have is Copper Beach, as in the tree, not the beautiful sandy place by the sea. So we have got here basically a brown. It's a warm toned brown. Next color is terracotta, also one of my favorite colors. But we'll get to that when we're doing a close-up. Gorgeous, gorgeous color. Don't know if you can see it here. Chocolate is up next, and that's the kind of darkest cool toned brown in the palette. It is super saturated straight out of the pan. Then we're moving on to the final three colors. So we've got Payne's Grey here, which is my ultimate favorite dark tone in any palette, in any medium. be it watercolor, acrylics, pencils, you name it. And this is a beautiful, perfect Payne's grey. Basically it's a grey that has a blue tone in there, for those of you who are new to watercolor. And it's beautiful to deepen tones like other colors instead of using black, because black just dulls things down generally, whereas Payne's grey can be a beautiful addition to any palette, whether used straight up or for mixtures. Finally we have Ivory Black, which is just basically your ordinary black color in a palette. So I can't see any illustration or lines underneath it. It's a nice saturated black. At its medium value, you can see lines underneath. And let's have a look at the lightest value. It's a lovely warm toned grey. So I'm not expecting to see any black lines at the beginning of the leaf because of its darkness. Okay, and finally Chinese white. So with that one I'm going to go straight into the light color because we have got so much. In fact, look, I'm already darkening it, so I'm gonna go wash out my brush and clean out the white, and then we'll just do the final color and close-ups. How exciting is that? Looks gorgeous already. So last color, white. So why do you need a white in a palette? Now some watercolorists are pro white and some are against white. Purists do not want to have white in their palette. However, if you're a beginner or someone who just enjoys exploring within watercolor or art in general, you'll find that white can actually be quite fun. It's great to create pastel colors. Also, if you want to have some opacity, sorry, the ice cream one is here, you can totally do that. So let's start with our white. It's not going to show us much in these kind of swatches right here on white paper, in the different varieties of it, but we will hopefully see a bit more on the leaf. Okay, so I'm going to really load it up. Okay, so the white here is pretty opaque, and then I'm going to go a bit further up and then really wash it out. Okay, so it is time to look at the close-ups. First, you can see overall very smooth colors. What you want to look out for is the gradient on the leaves. If it would be a color, or watercolor rather, that is quite gritty, you would find that the blend between the light, the medium and the dark is quite separated, whereas you can see it's sort of nice and soft everywhere, so it's a beautifully smooth color in general. So let's start with looking at these colors a bit closer. So we have got lemon cadmium, deep cadmium, mango, orange, poppy red. Madder carmine is the one that is definitely one of the favorites from the palette for me personally because of its uniqueness, and it's a gorgeous kind of deep warm toned red, and it's really gorgeous on its own as well as in mixes. Then we have got magenta, we have got dark violet, Amethyst, Ultramarine, Spectrum Blue, Kingfisher Blue, Jade Green, Bottle Green, Emerald Green, Grass Green, Olive Green, and Raw Sienna. So here, Jade Green is obviously a staple. I would use it very often, and Grass Green is pretty much a chartreuse in my view, so I love that color as well. And Raw Sienna is another great one. But yeah, so far in terms of my favorites, we have Madder Carmine, Jade Green, and Grass Green. And then from the bottom line we have Terracotta. So these are my top favorites from this palette. Then Copper Beach, Terracotta, Chocolate, Payne's Grey, Ivory Black, and Chinese White. Payne's Grey is another great one. Like I said, if you love your Payne's Greys, this is a good one, as well as the Raw Sienna. So we can have a look now at Chinese White, and what you will see is that really build up here the tip of the leaf. It is nicely opaque. You won't be able to cover 100% of the line, so but it will be a great color to create pastel colors with. This is such a nice color palette right here, like that. Love it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this swatching session. It was a lot of fun to do it with you and share it with you, and I am definitely going to enjoy looking at this in my studio. And what a fun way to do swatches. So leave your comments. What are your favorite colors or colors that stood out to you? And I will leave the links down below for the new palettes. And there they are again with my illustrations that I'm super proud of. And here are the swatches. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.